We see a continent that's still, Africa especially, a continent that's still struggling with internet connectivity, power, undersea cables, and some of this fundamental infrastructure that are actually very crucial to building AI capacity. It's a very important aspect of the AI value chain that we often don't focus on. Usually we talk about models and performance and security and risks. This is the fundamental question zero for Africa.
Africa cannot just be a consumer of these technologies. We have to get to a point when we are active participants to it. Because if we just consume, they can't really reflect our ideologies, our cultures.
There's a direct relationship between infrastructure with improved economy, which also results to improved development conditions.
We're at a place at the moment where AI technology is exploding, and whether or not it's a bubble, it is certainly going to change the world in ways that we can't foresee. Understanding how that impacts Africa is completely vital, because we know that previous industrial revolutions have generally not gone well for Africa.
What's actually driving geopolitical competition in AI is not so much about the sort of innovation and the models, but sort of the infrastructure that backs them.
In terms of the peripheral infrastructure, like the renewable energy, fiber, and data centers, there's limited availability across the continent as well as the global south, which means that we have to optimally utilize whatever resources we have to then be able to give the right amount of compute to the right people. At least in a space like Africa, which is like a vast landmass, compute is fragmented and in silos. The race is not going to be won by people with majority of AI chips, but rather folks who can orchestrate them the best.
And that's where the questions are going to come from.
I'm convinced that the AI debate is currently too centered in high-level governance and in two big players. This conversation was going to shift our attention into middle powers and other elements in the infrastructure and in the supply chain of AI that are critical but are not receiving the deserved attention.
When you come to South Africa and you meet here, you're not just speaking to South Africans and the South African consideration, but it really is a gateway to the continent, not just in the geographic sense, but even in terms of the infrastructure that we're actually talking about.
South Africa has occupied a very important place in history, being a sort of champion for the cause of the global south and the global majority, as we now call it. And especially at this sort of interesting time in geopolitics, I think coming to a space like South Africa, which has historically created space for countries and peers to actually debate the common interest over and above the geopolitical race or intensification of power, it's an important thing to do.
I think the location is really important because it invites the actual owners of the challenges and the problems to come together.
As a Brazilian, it's always valuable to go to the global north, but it's also very inaccessible. It's expensive for starters. It means a lot of people, a lot of Brazilians, a lot of other people from the global south first can't physically get there, but it also means that the whole ecosystem is locked out of the conversation. So coming here in South Africa, for me, is extremely valuable because I can have access to the stakeholders here, to the ecosystem here. I think we often forget how physical the internet is.
In my mind, when I heard about cables, I thought they were going to be these thick, massive cables, and yet they're so small. I mean, I found out that's only one chip, and this is powering the entire continent in terms of network, internet access.
Such a small cable is connecting the internet or the experience we're having of the internet across the world. And if that is tampered with, the house of cards just crumbles very easily. And so with it does the internet.
It's really interesting to see this high-performance computing center, which is really one of the top, if not the top, within Africa. It's both very impressive in terms of the scale, but there are really interesting aspects of legacy there. We're a long way behind in terms of GPUs, which can be used for AI.
It's very mind-blowing to see what South Africa has been able to put together despite limited resources. But at the same time, it's sort of a paradox to see, well, even this sort of gigantic infrastructure is not enough. It barely scratches the surface of what Africa actually needs. Compute materials in there are probably 3 or 4 generations behind what we actually have, what we're using to train powerful models today.
It makes what is often abstract in the work that I do, makes it a reality of really seeing and talking to people on the ground.
We're democratizing AI infrastructure for Africans. Instead of letting the whole continent fall back in the AI race, we're supporting the bottom layer to even get access to compete and come to a benchmark level where they can solve their own challenges.
In the midst of scarcity, that there's an opportunity for African countries, just the Global South in general, to come together and form a sort of powerful coalition, a funding vehicle, anything you want to call it, actually, to advance our compute future.
The idea I'm taking home is interoperability and pooling resources. To me, for middle powers especially, this is the critical point for obtaining bargaining power.
Investing in Africa brings out the new ideas that has not been explored by the Western countries.
This type of work is really the lab work. You get the microscope, look, zoom into the problem, and think of highly specialized solutions. And this is how we can, nudging a little needle, change the whole system.
It has not been lost on us how intentional this gathering has been. We tend to have the same crowds, and so this really brought different newer faces and new circles, including people like myself. I mean, these are not opportunities that come often for young startup founders like myself, being able to come into the space and learn and also share the work that I'm doing.